Good afternoon, YouTube. I'm your host of the Power of the Spoken Words. I'm in the Bat Cave right now in the vacation home, undisclosed. You can see the bat signal. Okay, you can see the bat signal. So I am trying to do part two of Women Keep Women Single. So in the first part, I spoke to you about a 30-year-old who had asked me a question about the right man. And I had a 58-year-old who kept interrupting her when I was asking her question. But there's another young lady, a 32-year-old, that actually got into the conversation with me. And her part was, she was saying that there's no single black man out here. They're either in jail or they're gay. But I've heard this rhetoric often on YouTube that that's where the real black men are, or black men are in jail or they're gay. And I said to her, well, that's not true. And she kept going, yes, it's true. I said, well, it's not true. I've heard this before, but it's not true. I said, for instance, the field that you're in right now, I'm looking at all these men walking by. And she said, well, they're not her type. So I said, so what's your type? So she brought out the devil's sign, the 666. 6 foot tall, must make six figures, and thing must be larger than 6 inches. So I said, well, okay, I hear that part of it, but that's what you want, right? So she says, yeah, that's what she's looking for. And you haven't met anybody like that yet? No. I said, so you tell me there's no 6-foot male around here making 6 figures and what you're looking for? So she said, no. I said, so how you know that they're the ones that's not looking for somebody like you? She said, why would you say that? I said, because you're talking about something that's as you know, several of the podcast people says this, it's a 1% for what you're looking for. So I said, you're 32 and you think there's going to be a 32-year-old making the same salary as you, ready to get married, and 6 foot tall, 6 figures, and according to what you're out looking for. So she says, well, there are not many. There are not many of them. I said, right. So you women are competing for a minuscule amount of men that you guys are looking for, right? And those men are already either occupied, or they don't want to get married, or they have a roster of women that they could bring in at any time. So maybe your expectation, instead of it being all up here, you should bring it down here to meet somebody at your level so that you could start together. So I said, so say you do meet somebody at 32 making 6 figure and 6 foot tall. How much of the bill do you want him to take up? She said, well, all the bills. I said, but if you're making this almost the same salary as his, why would he have to pick up all of the bills? Just because that's what a real man would do, right? So I asked her, so what do you know about a real man? And she said, oh, well, I was raised by my father. I said, okay. But your father raised you to be independent, right? She says, yeah, to take care of yourself, to be a go-getter, don't let no man take advantage of you. She said, yes, my dad told me to do all that. So if somebody came into your life right now and wanted to take charge and provide and protect, would you allow them? He said, yeah, and under certain circumstances. What circumstances? And she paused and she says, well, if he does this and does that. So I said, well, the thing about men is that we don't come in that type of a package, right? So it's either we like this or we're not. And the men who are like this, they don't want to hear that part of what you're talking about, right? So you already saw it, and I also asked about her salary. So again, if you meet somebody, what portion of the bills do you want him to take up? She said, all of it. So what happened to your salary? She said, well, that's my salary. So you want to pay everything, but your salary is your salary. Yes. And what world is that in? Where your salary is your salary. He said, well, if he's a real man, but let's stop with the real man thing, right? Because your father raised you. That's just one man raising you, right? And you saw how he raised you, so that's what you're going off. So stop saying what a real man would do, right? Let's stop saying that, what a real man would do, because that's what your father taught you to do. But there are men out there that have no problem fulfilling what you're talking about. But you already have standards that you're saying what you're looking for. And that's a Disney fantasy, right? That's Disney. That's not how men are built, right? So I'm explaining to her that if you find a 32-year-old your age making your salary, that's rare. because most men don't reach their peak salary until they're in their 50s, 55, 58, and that's when they reach their peak salary. Most men, okay? Because you do have men in their 50s that are still making $40,000, $40,000, $38,000, because that's where they just started, right? They just woke up at 50 years old and said, you know what, I got to get a job. So think about it. If you meet somebody now and they're not at their peak salary, what portion of the responsibility would you take on? She said, well, I don't think I have to take on any of the responsibility. You shouldn't take on no responsibility at all. She says, no. I feel that if he's a good protector and a good provider, it won't matter. I said, well, it doesn't matter. Believe it or not, because I'm a married man, and my wife's salary is a part of our total income, including our income. But majority of it comes from me, right? So I have to make sure that there's, the things that she says she don't want, when it shows up and she has it, that has to be paid for, right? Has to be paid for, whether it be from a joint account or whatever. It has to be paid for, because women always say what they don't want until they get it, and then they want to keep it. Now the salary has to balance out to maintain that lifestyle, right? Because everybody wants a lifestyle, but nobody wants to work from it. Everybody wants the end, but don't want to start from the beginning, right? And most women don't want to start from the beginning. They just want the end result, okay? Everybody wants a Denzel Washington, but remember when he was growing up, he didn't have anybody in his corner. Nobody thought about him. Nobody did. Tyrese Gibson, all these guys, nobody thought about them. They're just guys from the neighborhood. But now they're out there where they are now, and everybody wants them, right? But they had to start from somewhere. So if you're a woman that start with your husband from somewhere, and now you guys reach to a level where you're now financially stable, then you understand why, it takes two, right? But until you guys understand that, combine your salary, right? And from combining your salary, you create a different type of lifestyle. Instead of one person bearing the burden of the lifestyle, and then you want the vacations, you want the cars, you want the big wedding, you want the anniversary, you want the ring, you want all this stuff coming from one salary, because your salary, like you just said, is not included in this, right? So I never thought about that. I said, but imagine if you combine your salary. That's why, I've met young women that fathers raised them, and they did a good job raising them, but they raised them to be independent, right? They didn't raise them to say that now when a young man come into, and this is not every dad, this is some dad, so I'm not going to put everybody in a box. This is some dad that, the right person may come along, but your daughter's been raised to be by herself and independent. So how is it that a man is going to come into her life and she's going to even listen to what a man is saying, right? There's going to be a problem, because with what you're telling, don't let the man take advantage of you. Don't let this happen. But at some point, you have to let your guard down so that man can take over, right? He has to be able to take over, because if you're not going to allow him to take over, then you're going to be always butting heads, right? So who in the relationship is going to make the final decision? She says, well, if he's a good provider, no. Let's remove the good provider part. At the end of the day, if a decision has to be made, who's going to make that decision? Because if you make it, right, and it doesn't work out, you're going to blame him for allowing you to make it. But if he makes it and it doesn't work out, you're still going to blame him. So who, at the end of the day, is going to have the final decision? She thought about it. So, well, if you have to think about it, then you're going to make that final decision. So the result is going to come back to you. So the man you're looking for, you're not going to find, because you're not even willing to even accept that a decision has to be made sometimes. And if you're not going to allow him to make that decision, then who's going to make that decision, right? Let's get out of this thing where your salary is your salary and his salary pays for everything. If you're both making $100,000 a year, that's $200,000 a year. That's a different type of lifestyle you guys are putting yourselves into, right? Instead of saying your salary is your salary and his salary is my salary, you combine both salaries and you see a difference. Because everybody have to start somewhere for them to get to the ending, right? So for this young lady, after about a little while talking to her, I explained to her that, so take that out your head. Stop listening to these people on YouTube and think for yourself. Your husband may be walking right by you and said hi to you, but because he's not 6 foot tall and you have not a conversation with him, right? Because he's your height, or it could be a little bit shorter, you're not having a conversation with him because you're looking for a particular man. That man is already occupied, right? That man is already taken. That man already have different responsibility. So the only thing that you're going to become is a side chick to this man, because he already have a different responsibility. And by the time you find that you're a side chick, you're 2 chicks in, two children in, now you're mad at that man, right? But not understanding that he had different responsibilities. So I say to you women, you know, a lot of these older women are giving you bad advice, telling you could do bad by yourself. Why would you want to do bad by yourself when you could do good with somebody, with a partner, right? Don't listen to these women. These women past their prime. They're in the 80s and 90s where there's nothing going on about the rent. You got to have a job. All these songs that they're allowed to come out of these clubs, and these women have that in their head. That's what they're looking for. And now you look at them, and they're in their 50s and 60s. They're coming to the doctors with their sisters, their mothers, their grandson, their son, not husbands, right? And that's not their son's responsibility to take his mother to a hospital. That's your husband's responsibility, right? That's my responsibility for me to take my wife to the doctor. Not her girlfriends, not my son. He has his own life. So understand this. When you hear older women telling y'all you could do, you know, you don't have to settle for anybody, let's remove that word settle, because you're not settling, okay? We use these words, and words have meanings, and words hurt. We have to start removing some of these words and understanding what we're saying to each other about settling and what you're not going to do. First, find somebody and see what they're about, right? See if you and this person match up. And if you match up, then you understand that, listen, this is somebody that I could work with. This is somebody I'm willing to listen to. Because if you're going to listen, that means you're going to follow, right? You're going to follow somebody that you're listening to. So a lot of times, women, don't listen to the ones that already passed their prime. Nobody's looking at them anymore, right? So now they're trying to make sure that you don't have that happiness at all, because that's how women are, okay? They'll see another woman. I'm telling you, I've been to the doctor with my wife to go to her doctor's appointment, and I watch women there with their sister or their aunt or their best friend come there with them, and they're looking at me, looking at my wife, and I walk away and tell my wife, you know, oh, where's your girlfriend? She's like, why would I bring my girlfriend? Oh, you don't have to bring your husband, because of the doctor, the particular doctor that she's coming to go see. You don't need to bring your husband here. Why not? Just because you didn't have the patience or to wait for the right man, right? So you're here now with your girlfriends and your mom and your sister to be at the doctor instead of your husband. So women, young women, okay, look at the women before you and see how they are, that they're now in their 50s and their 60s, dressed like you, with a 50-year-old, 55-year-old woman with baby here in their head, telling you that you shouldn't settle for nothing. Those are not the people to listen to, okay? So, I've said this to everyone. Thank you for listening to me. And I said, this is from Powerful Spoken Words, that women keep women single. So you young women, look at what these women in the past have done to themselves and don't make the same mistake. So for now, YouTube, have a nice day.